Oh, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Dogecoin today at the request of Christopher Buds Jord. And we're also going to do a special request at the end. I'm going to talk about the fibs here, the purpose of the 6.9 and the 0.69 on the fibs. Those are not fib levels, but that's at the request of Decuter. We're going to talk about that for you, my friend, at the very end of the video, right? So we can get the main essence in here, and anybody who wants to do some TA nerding out can join me at the end. But let's do some price predictions. Let's get into this, right? So I want to start off, you know, the same way that I really start off every Dogecoin video, which is that if you look at the first all-time high you had back in 2014, by the way, Dogecoin's been around, you guys, for several cycles. It's one of the most bullish charts in crypto. Like what chart looks like this? It's been around this long, right? This nothing else. It's crazy. Bitcoin, obviously, right? Ethereum hasn't been around this long, but anyways, high to low. Your next cycle high moved all the way up to the 1.618, the golden extension, right? The golden ratio itself. That's where you topped off. Okay, and then the very next cycle, look at this. You actually went all the way up to your 2.618. Maybe could we go to the 3.618 this cycle? That's all the way at $10. Probably not. No. Probably we don't do that, but it's a nice dream, right? Anyways, from a high to a low here, remember that high to low, we went to the 1.618. This high to low went all the way to the 2.272. You did show significance at the 1.618 for a little bit of time, but again, both times that 1.618 coming into effect and both times going just a little bit above it, right? Just a little bit above it there, just a little bit above it here. It would make sense, in my opinion, that by the end of the cycle, you guys, Dogecoin could be worth over $4. Because each time it did go at least above the 1.618. The first time just a little bit, the last time all the way up to the 2.272. I don't think you go to the 2.272 now. I suppose it's possible Dogecoin could reach for $8 to $10 by the end of the cycle. That would be like the absolute maximum limit that I could see Dogecoin achieving. That would give you, I mean, you'd be worth more than $1 trillion in market cap. And I don't know if a meme coin is deserving of $1 trillion market cap yet. I think Dogecoin will be the first $1 trillion meme coin and potentially the only $1 trillion meme coin until the dollar like experiences some more inflation, right? $1 trillion right now is a lot of money, but you know, $1 billion, $1 billion is still a lot of money, but $1 billion used to be some like unattainable value that only like the top like 100 richest people in the world could achieve. Now there's more than that, right? Now we have more than 100 billionaires. Eventually we'll have our first trillionaire, and then we'll have our first dozen, then our first 100, then our first 1,000, right? And then eventually it becomes easy enough where even a meme coin that's not as reputable as Doge could achieve $1 trillion market cap. But what I'm trying to get to here is Dogecoin, out of all the meme coins, is the top dog. It's the Mac Daddy. It will likely achieve $1 trillion in market cap valuation first. I'm not saying it's going to happen this cycle. I'm saying it could. If it were to happen, I mean, just to be fair, right? Again, going off of the very first cycle here, high to low, actually to the low there. You went to your 1.618 golden extension, then you went to your 2.618 golden extension, right? Defined resistance, right? Basically. And then maybe go to your 3.618. That's all the way up at $10. $10 is a nice psychological level of resistance, and that would be just above $1 trillion too in market cap, because I think it'd probably be like at $1.5 trillion actually. You'd be really high. I don't think that's going to happen personally, right? But just making the case again, beyond what I normally do, which is $4. That would be, I know $4 is around like 660 billion or 600 billion, something like that, right? Something between 600 and 660 billion. That's already a really high market cap. But seeing something that's above $1 trillion, I see it happening inevitably for Dogecoin. I think it is inevitable. I think that the math checks out for that, but probably not by the end of this cycle, right? That's probably next cycle stuff or something like that would be my guess. But you never know. This is Dogecoin, man. It's the king, the king of the like just straight God mode pumps, ape candle pumps. I don't know what else to call it. But again, looking at this relative fib here, high to low, I think it stands to reason that we could stop at $4. I want to take this fib too, high to low here, just real quick. $4 there, 3.113 there, yeah. Nothing on this fib revolving around $9, so I like that, right? That takes it away. It's a possibility, but I really don't think you get there. I like that your secondary kind of area, or even your tertiary area here, is lining up with this primary area here. So I really do expect Dogecoin will be worth multiple dollars, several dollars even by the end of the cycle. I think $4 is an absolute absolutely achievable, attainable market cap to hit. And then again, just real quick, I want to touch on something else before we move on to the day-to-day, week-to-week stuff, is that whenever I said earlier that Dogecoin will reach an over $1 trillion market cap versus the US dollar, and that was inevitable, I mean it, right? I mean it. Yes, Dogecoin has an infinite max supply, but as I've said in my most recent video, its ratio or its rate of inflation, it is inflating. It'll always inflate for the rest of time, but the rate of its inflation is deflationary. Does that make sense? It's got a deflationary rate of inflation. It will always be inflationary, but the rate of its inflation will become lesser and lesser as time goes on. In fact, the way that it's built out is that Dogecoin's rate of inflation will approach zero. It's a mathematical term, right? Approaching zero without ever attaining it. And that's kind of a little bit of an out there way of thinking, but not too far, right? Essentially, all I'm saying is that as time goes on, the percentage of inflation, the rate of inflation that Dogecoin experiences, it'll go from, like, I don't know what it's at right now, but let's say it's at 1%. Then it'll go to 0.9%, and then 0.8%, and it'll continuously go down. Then it'll get to 0.1, and then 0.01, then 0.001, 0.0, it'll just keep getting smaller throughout time. It's inevitable. It's literally math. It's written in its code. It's inevitable. So with that rate of inflation becoming less and less significant, you will approach a stationary rate of inflation. It'll still be inflationary to some degree, but it will be a stationary asset or approaching stationary. And that inevitably in time, and probably in no time at all, it probably wouldn't even take, I wonder what the rate of inflation is now. Actually, let's do this real quick. I'm bored, so let's do this. If anybody wants to do this with me, Dogecoin emissions rate, annual emissions. There we go. Oh, not carbon emissions. Okay, annual inflation. Dogecoin has a diminished inflation rate, yeah, because I like the diminished. Fixed yearly issuance of 5 billion coins. Okay, so 5 billion coins. We look at Dogecoin here. We're doing the homework, but this is so anybody who's watching this video, anybody who actually likes Dogecoin, who's invested in Dogecoin or wants to invest, you'll have a better understanding of what you're dealing with. I promise you, you'll gain value from this if you just stick with it, okay? I know numbers are boring. I know number crunching is boring, but this is where when someone asks you, why did you put your life savings into Dogecoin? It's just a stupid meme coin. It's not going to go anywhere. This is where you can hit them with some real facts. I was going to say effing facts, but I want to keep it appropriate here for all ages, right? Genuinely, some people watch the stuff with their kids, or they watch it with their students, apparently. Thank you for people that show people who are younger this stuff. I think that's awesome. And if me not cussing is what keeps you from being able to show, or it's what allows you to be able to show these people who are younger, right? I'm all about it, man. I don't want to prevent anybody from learning, but enough of that. We're at I'm trying to do some math here. I'm not trying to talk so much. 5 billion tokens a year. Your total supply right now, your total circulating supply is 147. Let's do some math. Let's do it. Ready? So 5 billion tokens. What is the actual amount of Doge printed each year? I might have to ask Grok. More than 5 billion. But I want an exact number. We're going to ask Grok, you guys. He might be able to give us a more accurate number. What is the absolute, you have to be specific though, precise amount of Doge printed annually? Give me a real number here, buddy. I want to be accurate. Approximately 5.2. See, that's better. That's better. I like that. I'm going to ask, is that as accurate of an answer as you can give? I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I know this is a little bit off the walls, but we're doing some homework here. Block award day. There we go. That's what I want. Thank you, Grok. Thank you, buddy. All right. Let's see here. So we're going to do 5.256. Okay, 5.256. Calculator. Google calculator. I love it too. He gives you like the math. He gives you the formula. I love it, man. It's great. I love AI. I know people are scared of it, but there's good things about it, right? Stuff like that. It helps us get to the nitty gritty. 5.256. 5.256. And these are billions. Okay, we have a purpose that we're doing here. Okay, that's how many billions of Dogecoin are printed each year. There's a total of 147.314 billion. Okay, so that I think, no, I would do this actually. 5.256. So 147 point. What is it? I gotta turn this down. Hold on, guys. I got some stuff going on. 147.314. 147.314 divided by, what was it that I was dividing it by? 5.256. 5.256. Okay. So that's that. 147 divided by that should give you the rate, the percentage rate of inflation. Nope. I did it backwards. Why do I always do it backwards, man? I get division wrong for some reason. 5.256. I'm sure people watching this are like, why are you doing it that way? Divided by, I'm sure that number's applicable to some degree for what we need, but I don't want to figure that out right now. 147.314. 147.314. Okay, 3.5%. Okay, so that's Doge's rate of inflation now. Okay, 3.5%. As time goes on, it will only get lower. Right now, that's like slightly above what the average goal is for the US dollar's rate of inflation. But eventually, Dogecoin's rate of inflation will be less. It'll be half. It'll be 1% of what the US dollar's inflation is. So whenever I say things like Dogecoin will see $1 trillion market cap, it's math, it's inevitable. I mean that. And now you can mean that too. You know it's at a 3.567% rate of inflation right now. As time goes on, it'll only diminish. That rate will only diminish, right? If we see in 10 years, we get another $50 billion or another 50 billion coins, right? Because every year we get 5.256. So in 10 years, we'd have 52.56. So if we did the same kind of thing, 52, if we added 52.56 billion to 147.314 billion, right? In 10 years time, we'll have about 200 billion Dogecoins. Okay, 200 billion Dogecoins. So let's just do that. 200 billion, sorry. No, it wouldn't be 200 billion. It'd be 5.2 billion divided by 200. 5.256. 5.256 divided by divided by 200 billion gives you a 2.6. So you see the difference, and we'll pull up the history here, right? In 10 years' time, it's math. It's inevitable, you guys. It's inevitable in 2 bull cycles from now, going into that bear cycle after the second bull cycle from now, right? Dogecoin will effectively drop a percentage of its inflation rate so that's not, it wouldn't be per decade that it would drop 1%, right? But it'll get less than 1%, but it'll get more close to zero each decade, I suppose, right? But all I'm trying to say is 3.56% now. Over the next 10 years, it'll be 2.6%. What about 20 years from now? What about 30 years from now, right? The rate of inflation is only going to go down. The US dollar would be lucky to hold a 2.6 rate of inflation over the next year, let alone a 20-year period. Dogecoin, it's not going to be lucky to hold a 2.6 year inflation. It's mathematically fact. It's inevitable. It's written in the code. It's happening in 10 years from now. And then 10 years from there, it's only going to be less. So it's mathematically just certified. Dogecoin has no other direction to go than up. It literally is going to go up. Anybody who says Dogecoin is going to lose value because it has an infinite max supply, they don't understand or they don't properly apply mathematics to their line of thinking. Right? Maybe not that they don't understand it. They have to understand it to some degree. Inflation is bad, based off of that. But when you're comparing it to the dollar, it's it's a totally different thing. Now that we've done all the boring stuff, let's get into the exciting stuff. So Dogecoin here, that's not what I wanted to do. From a low point here to a high point, pulled all the way down below its 236. Generally speaking, you do hit your 382. I wouldn't be surprised if you hit your 382. You could go as low as 24.2 cents. You're at 31.2 now. But with the rest of the market looking as bullish as they do, with the rest of the market seeming to have put in their lows, it's hard for me to acknowledge that I could see Dogecoin going that low. And it could. It's very possible. Statistically speaking, on the fibs, it's almost inevitable that you would see 24 cents. So if Dogecoin does go to 24 cents, don't panic, my friends. It's fine. But I'm not convinced you do. From a high to a low here, you are finding support on the 1272. You reached above the 1618. You're finding support on the 1272. This is actually a really bullish case for not going lower. You look at the weekly RSI. You got overbought. Now you're not. You cooled way the hell off. Higher lows, higher highs. It looks very bullish in itself, but also the weekly RSI, you could stand to go lower and still be bullish, adding to the bearish case potentially. Daily RSI, very low. You got oversold. You're in the oversold zone now. Every time you've been in this area before, those have been at relative lows. Would this be a relative low? Then, make it an argument for the bullish case that maybe that was the low. You wicked super low and you still closed above the 1272. I'm going to say I really do believe Dogecoin found its low there at, what is that price? 30, come on now. 26.2 cents. I think that was its low. But it could go as low as like 23, 24 cents. It's possible. It could even go a little bit lower if it wanted to. This is Dogecoin. It's a squirrely thing, but I think that was its low. I think Dogecoin is getting ready for its next move up. Based off of this fib, its next move would be anywhere from 57 cents to $1.23. We would expect to see this move happen by the end of January, right? By the end of January. 57 to $1.23, and I don't know about you guys, but knowing what I know about Dogecoin, I don't think it's stopping at 57 cents. I think really the more realistic approach would be 86 cents to $1.23 by the end of January. That makes more sense to me. So that's the prediction. I'm going to end the video with that, and there's one more thing we got to talk about for Decoder. We're gonna talk about the fibs here. So. And if you guys like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like that. I know sometimes doing the homework can be tedious, but when you come out on the other side, you have a better understanding of things. I hope it was a little bit of like a aha moment, or like, again, just something that you can use. If anybody's trying to argue with you about Dogecoin being a piece of crap meme coin, you can literally just throw the math in their face and show them, be like, oh, it's actually better than the US dollar. Like, if it's a piece of crap meme coin, what does that make your US dollar? But anyways, let's look at the fibs here, right? So from an overall high to low, most fibs, whenever you click on it, like you can double click on it, right? And you can bring up your own settings. There's all these different levels. You can have them clicked. You can have them unclicked, like whatever. They don't all have to be clicked. You can make them whatever colors you want. You can extend the lines left, right, whatever, right? But I like to have them right because we're always like looking to the right. You could do it this way too, but whatever. Anyways, I put the 069 right here, and I put the 69 on there because I've noticed the 069 was kind of at a funny whim, but the 69 was at a very intentional placement, because I've noticed throughout my time doing technical analysis that oftentimes you don't stop right at the 618. A lot of people make the assumption, and here's actually a very perfect example of what I'm not saying. But from a high to a low, a lot of people make the assumption that you stop right at the 618, that's where you go. That once you hit the golden ratio, that's it. That's the rejection point, right? If you go through it, it's like, oh, then it's on to the races. But oftentimes it's actually not the case. Oftentimes you find resistance just below, or just through the 618, not right at it. I can't find any examples right here. I'm trying to find some examples, see if I can. Maybe here, this high to low right here. High to low here, right? That one's right at the 618. And maybe Dogecoin likes the 618, but again, it didn't stop technically right at the 618. It went just above it. So I put the 69 there to identify it as more of a range, right? If we take that that relative high there to the relative low, here you went just through the 618 here before you found resistance and came in. It wasn't at the 69, but again, the whole reason I leave it as like a zone, the 69, is to continuously remind myself that you don't have to stop right at the 618. And I might not be finding the best examples right now, but throughout my time, let's just see, high to low here, I do notice that you go through it most of the time. You do go through the 618. You don't stop there. Here you went to the 786, to be completely fair. And every chart's different. Maybe Dogecoin isn't one of those charts that goes to its 6.9, but I know Bitcoin does. I know Bitcoin Cash does. I know there's a lot of coins and a lot of stocks that do respect the 6.9. And sometimes we even get these little 0.069 retracements And like here, right, from a low to a high, look at that. You did tip right there, just right around your 6.9. I noticed, and that's why I added it. It's not a funny number, and in 69, I get it. 69, dude, it's a funny number, but it's actually a number of like serendipity, of balance, equality, right? It's actually got a more meaningful meaning than what a lot of people give it with the innuendos that we give it, and it's funny, you know, whatever. But I thought it was funny at first, and I'm like, oh wow, you know, the number that I actually went with at first was 0.7. To round it out, but I used 0.69 because I'm a hippie and I feel like that the duality, spiritual nature of 69 just speaks to me more, so I use that. 0.69, I applied that to just see if there were any other 6.9s that find relevance, and it's not as common, but sometimes you do. And I want to try and find an example of it here. I think this is a perfect example, actually, from a high to a low. Nope, that was not the right example. I mean, here you did find resistance right there, tipping the 0.69, literally tipped it. But that's not the example that I was looking for. Maybe maybe from this high to this low. Kind of went up, found support at the 0.69. Didn't, you went a little bit below it there. I don't know. It's just an area that I have. Sometimes we get good readings. Sometimes we don't off of it. It's not perfect, but there are certain, let's call them fib sequences, that I base moves off of. And if you can hold the 6.9, depending on how it reacts, just with how I've done my analysis over the past like couple of years, I've been doing technical analysis for 8 years, but I really incorporated the 0.69 and the 6.9 over the past couple of years. And with what I've seen, sometimes you'll pull back, and instead of getting a double bottom, you'll have a slightly higher low, and it oftentimes is at that 0.69. But I'm not going to go through and hunt for every example. But I hope that answered. I don't know how well I answered your question there. Decuter. I don't know how well I answered it. I basically just gave examples instead of answering it, but the short and sweet of it is I chose those numbers because I noticed that oftentimes you would find or significance around them, right? You don't find significance right at the 618. It's more of an area, because I think everybody anticipates something to go on at that area, specifically the 618. So it's an area. And I've identified it as 618 to 6.9 to give it more of that area, which I feel like does encapsulate most of the tops for most of the time. And then the 0.69 is just a nice area for some like slightly higher lows, double bottom kind of scenarios, which again, I don't know if I could find any examples right here, but sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't. But yeah, that's it, man. They're not fibs. They're not fibs. Technically, out of this whole chart, out of all these fibs here, the 6.9, the 0.69, and the 0.5, those are not Fibonacci levels, or the 200, but they're levels that I find significance, right? And that's the beauty of it. You can, it's the fib tool, but you can really make it anything you want. It could be the quarter tool where you do it in 0.25s, 0.5s, right? You get like a quarter of the move. It doesn't have to be based on fibs. It could just be based off of any kind of mathematical segments that you want. But I got nothing else to say, guys. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. Take care.